Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Come and tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle.
No one shows. Go right by them and field inside.
If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access Postgame Show. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. The Packers obviously dropped a tough one out in Vegas, 17-13 to the Raiders. Tell you, if you go outside of the Packer, fans, I think people enjoyed this game. I think it was a fun game to watch. I think it was a close game. You get the primetime games are typically boat races. That's what we've seen all year. So if you're not a Packer fan and you watch that game, you probably enjoyed it, right? Had a little bit of suspense here and there. As a Packer fan, man, it was tough to sit through. I'll tell you, never at any point during that game did I feel like, hey, look, we're going to win this thing, right? But let's do this. Let's go around the horn. Let's get initial impressions. I'm going to start with Jacob. I know, Jacob, you're real excited about sharing your take here, but what do you think, man? What stands out to you? And we're going to go through the stats. We're going to go through the key moments, all that stuff. But what's the initial impressions of this game, man?
Yeah, this was a tough one, and there was no. I have no idea what the strategy was in this game. I have no idea what the identity was. Play calling to me was either we're going to do some like 5-yard dump off, some flat pass, or we're going to just heave it down the field. There's nothing intermediate, nothing in between. Didn't seem like we were going over the middle very often. Defense, I don't know. Defense just seems like when we need them, that they're going to just stop remembering how to tackle, and that they're just going to be able to run it up the gut for 8-9 yards a pop. It just was frustrating. And the whole time, like, just to keep us in there, I knew it was going to come down to the last wire, and then I honestly thought that Love could have ran that ball and at least got the first down rather than just hucking it up there. I mean, it just is like, why? It's just inconsistent, as always.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Tim, initial impressions, man.
Man, dude.
Man, dude. There you go.
Speechless. I try to look at the positives. I thought we got a heck of a game out of A.J. Dillon today. Heck of a game for, the level of play we expect from him. Clayton, we talked offline, the stats probably won't show it, but, he was finishing runs strong today when we needed him to, and executing in clutch moments of the game. And kudos to our defense. I mean, throughout the game for kind of making stops and keeping us in it, even being banged up. Losing Quay and Savage there, that didn't help. Right. We're really thin in the middle there on a lot of these plays, but hey, we lost it 17-13. Was that the final? Okay, so I don't know what to think. I'm with you, Jacob. I don't know what the plan was. The plan seemed like to run the ball, and we did, and then we got away from it when it was working, and then we went back to it and it was working. And then we got away from it again.
Well, here's an example real quick. Just the first possession that we had 3 straight runs to Dillon. And then we had that weird series where Josh Myers got called for down the field, and they picked up the flag. And then it was still a 3rd and 3, I believe. And then we just hucked it down if you remember that, Love just chucked it down the field for like what I thought was no reason. He could have, again, ran it or done some other things with the ball. And then, like you said, we did that in the next possession too. We had some decent that was when Zach Tom had his very wonderful dive. We got to make that into a meme, because that was a thing of beauty.
Dude, that was soccer player level acting right there. I love it.
Bro, I've got it saved, actually. I was gonna add it on here tonight.
But it was just sloppy again. And like I said, it just seemed weird. It seemed like a weird setup And I don't know if we can. You said that you thought AJ Dillon played well, and I'm not going to say he didn't play well, but I will say it's so weird that this team, just without Aaron Jones, it's like our identity is completely not there. Our spark, our pizzazz, if you will. Yeah, I said pizzazz.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And again, and we got Emilio on here with us. Emilio, if you want to hang out for a little bit, that's cool. We'll just get your take here in a second. Got a little bit of housekeeping to do. Want to give a shout out to the #1 Packer fan, just became a YouTube member. Welcome to the PTA posse, my man. And you are entered into the contest tonight to win the autographed John Kuhn jersey. So we'll add you to the wheel there. And let's see here. We got a couple of super chats. We got Josh Martin. Love is a bad quarterback. He's not it. He's so bad. Then Josh said, here's you another super chat and said, I'm officially done with Love. He's bad.
There it is.
Move on.
There it is. The raw emotions post game. I love it.
Right. I will say, man, I'm not done with him yet, Josh, but the thing that's so glaring to me about Jordan is he's so late to his read. You've seen it on an out on the outs a couple of times.
Yep.
On the blind play action, LaFleur's got to stop calling the blind play action on the digs, because the way that play's designed is there's not much of a side adjustment there. There's not much reading the defense. You play fake and you just pray to sweet baby Jesus those linebackers get pulled up, and then you hammer that dig in there, right? I hate that play. I hate it because there's a 50-50 chance of something that the play's not going to go in your favor. That's why Aaron didn't like to run play action. And I'm always going to come back to that because if we don't learn from what just happened in the shift of this offense, what's taken place in the last year and a half, 2 years, then shame on us for not understanding exactly what's going on the field, right? There's enough of that going around. But Josh Martin, thank you so much for the super chat. Then we got Godsmack, AR69. And by the way, Josh, we're going to talk about Love here in a second. We'll get back to it, I promise. But thank you for the super chat. Godsmack, AR69 said, looking forward to another ultra generic losing press conference from Coach Lafart.
Oh, my God.
For spiced rum and daddy sodas. It's funny that you said that because I had Twitter opened up in a window because I wanted to go to the presser. And then I went, he's just going to say the same thing. Let's just close that on out and have a conversation with the guys here. So,
comes out with Prison Matt bandana on. Right now, I don't want to listen to it.
Exactly. But Godsmack, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you, man. Emilio, initial impressions. Then we'll get into some of the details of the game, man. What's your initial takeaway? And if, like I said, if you want to hang around, it's cool. If you just want to give a take and get off here and go to bed, it's totally cool too.
Yeah, no. At first, I'll hop off of Tim there. I love it. Finally, we got AJ Dillon going downhill. And
inside, right, Emilio? Inside,
right. And tell me that a double team doesn't work. I mean, you can't. You finally put two big guys on one big guy, and it works. And then half the time we're trying to run, sifts or kickouts or with tight ends on very skilled, end players. So. It was frustrating, but I love that AJ was getting downhill and finishing runs, and I was happy that basically every carry was positive for him, besides a couple, blow up or two in the backfield. And I was happy with the way the D played, even with two starting backers down. I mean, McDuffie stepped up. It looked like Quay was actually the coverage guy, and McDuffie was running Mike most of the night before he got hurt, and then after Quay got hurt, then it was McDuffie still running it. But Wilson, man, I was happy with how he was hitting in there, and they were filling gaps. I was glad, Rudy was playing downhill, so everything looked better on the defense besides the one, Preston Smith one. But like we said, you'll have that when the DNs they're end players, but they're also backers. So sometimes they get pulled out to the side, and it just happened that Devontae was in the slot that time, and they toasted him, but it was
so bad for Preston. It's like, what do you do, man? You put a corner out there, and they're going to struggle with Devontae in the slot. You put Preston Smith. Preston Smith looked like he was he was more confused than a fart in a fan factory. He's like, all right, let's hold on. Let's hold on.
Rasul was just jumping up and down like we cannot,
Yeah. Oh, on the Keyshawn Nixon, where you could tell Rasul's reaction. They seen that on tape. You could tell. And the goal there was to have Keyshawn jump. He was going to shoot his shot and jump the slant. And for whatever reason, Keyshawn tucked in behind Tay and just dove straight out in the air. But you could tell Rasul was so angry, man, so angry. But
Right, yeah, he sort of faded back. He was sitting on the inside slot there, and they were looked like a double slant pattern and hitting Devontae on the second slant, and he was sitting. He just started dropping, and eyes got big.
yeah, definitely. And what's crazy is if you go to Twitter, and Tim keeps telling me, Clayton, stop doing it, man. Stop doing it. But you go on Twitter, and you would think that this defense gave up 30 points, and they're the reason they lost this game. It was 2 screenshots. One of Rudy Ford standing on the goal line, right, when Tay was uncovered in the slot, which, by the way, that was a zone blitz off the right side, and it was Lucas Van Ness who was supposed to drop in underneath coverage there. He did not drop. He did not get inside leverage on Tay, right? So that was a blown coverage. And then, of course, the one with Preston Smith out there, what did we hear all last week? Load the box, stop the run, load the box, stop the run. We're out there in our 34 base. We're running a zone defense. And that's what happens when you bring a run blitz like they did off the right side. To the best of my knowledge, I need to go watch the tape, but it looked like they blitzed off the right side. That puts the opposite backer in zone coverage. That's why you had him out there on tape. So people just pick and choose, slap their screenshots on Twitter. They're drunk on their watch parties, and they lead the charge, like Tim said, the charge of the casuals. And it's like they have no passion for understanding why this happened. And I have multiple people message me on Twitter and go, Clayton, remind me again why Preston Smith's out there in coverage. What happened again? I'm tired of explaining it. It's like you can choose to stop the run or you can choose to stop the pass, but you can't – there's not this perfect defense where you stop them both at the same time. And when you come out in base personnel, you're going to end up with an outside linebacker in coverage from time to time, especially when you try to do exotic blitzes. But anyway, Emilio, what else you got, buddy, before we let you go, man?
I was just adding to that. I mean, it happened more than once. Preston was in coverage, or the edges were in coverage more than once. It's the one time we picked to choose when it happens. That we get burned on. I thought Barry called a pretty decent game, honestly. Like, I really was happy. Yeah, I think we were only getting eaten up really when they were running the dual tight end, and we had our nickel package in. We just didn't sub to match their numbers, and I think that's where they kind of marched down the field on us there, and we just didn't switch quick enough. But still, it's not like the offense had chances. It sucked when Christian got horse collared, and we didn't get that the extra 4 for that. So
yeah, definitely.
That's tough.
All right, brother. Well, I'm glad that there's someone else hopping on here and seeing the same thing that I'm seeing. So I appreciate you calling in because I'm telling you, I felt like I was in the middle of the ocean on a raft on Twitter tonight.
I just got to game and we'll chop it up afterwards. But it's not something that I'm going to poke around with dealing with time wise. I'd rather watch the game and see where we.
Yeah, got you, man. Well, we appreciate you calling in, Emilio. You're the man, buddy.
Get your fellas.
All right. Take care, pal.
Can I say one thing quick?
Yeah, let's hear it, man.
So, like, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, the only way that I could really criticize Barry or the defense really in any way, I shouldn't say any way, but in more the most glaring way, in my opinion, isn't necessarily this play or that play or that he played this too far off the ball or the scheme wasn't right in this single play. To me, the most glaring would be just that 14-play, 8+ minute drive that led to that Jacoby Myers easy slant in the touchdown where they had the miscommunication. Like, to me, anytime you give up a 14-play, 8.5+ minute drive, that's on somebody. But when I look at that, and if I look at the other side of that being like, the skeptic on the other side, we had 3 turnovers as the offense, putting the defense in horrible positions. Yep. Absolutely not doing anything to help them really take any time off the clock. And if they still only gave up 17 points in that whole game, like that to me is almost a victory in itself right there. So then I start looking at the other side of the ball and I start scratching my head again with some of these play calls and this just the sequence. It's not necessarily the plays themselves, but the way in which they were called and the sequence and like weird events and timing. It just nobody looked like they were ready to go. And again, now I start thinking like, again, we look at it's a road game on the West Coast where for whatever reason, LaFleur's team does not look like they're ready to play ball. They all look lackadaisical. I didn't see that same fire and spark that I usually do. Now I know we're doing Bakhtiari and Jones again, but we can only use that as an excuse for so long. I did not like the way Walker looked tonight. He looked a little bit out of it. I hope we don't hear any reports of these boys out at the casinos Tell you what.
Oh no. I believe they've got some ways that they're countering that right now. They're not even allowed in the city. They stay outside of the city and everything. Got to be locked down in the hotel. Tim, you got anything to add to that, buddy?
No, I think you're right. I will say this about Quay, though. I think the level of communication noticeably dipped off when that green dot was not on the field. And I think that speaks to some of the personnel issues, that Emilio was talking about, communication. I also felt there was not we saw Vegas pre-snap adjust or go to a can, and then we saw our defense do nothing. And there was no adjustment on our part. And those were a lot of those plays that we were getting beat underneath in the middle. But I will say, Wilson stepped up. It was nice to see Wilson put Garoppolo on his butt. He had a couple nice plays there, getting pressure.
Preston Smith.
Yeah, Preston.
Oh yeah, Preston Smith gets the game ball on defense.
We didn't put him at cornerback. He played really well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to your point, Jacob, we saw him have that PBU. Preston Smith had that PBU to force the field goal there to keep it 10-3 early after the first turnover, which ended up not.
And you had like a third down play where he ran across the field to make the tackle.
Absolutely,
he's really good.
Thought we got really good games out of him today.
Gary was on. It seemed like less of a snap count than he was the last couple games. I
don't think there was a snap count.
I feel like he was in there less than the last couple games.
Really?
Yeah. I saw a lot of Enigbare and Albion in weird situations too. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we should be using him way more than we are.
All right, let's go to the phones here. We got Carly Ray on the line. Carly, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm enjoying my newfound analysis of the game, and it made it go heck of a lot faster, that's for sure.
Hey, isn't it amazing when you chart the game? She was sending me screenshots during the game, pictures of her notepad. When you chart the game, it flies by. You look up and you're like, oh, man, I can't, like, you're already past halftime. Yeah, there you go. Everybody hold your notes up.
How many
like a bunch of nerds that we are. Well, based off your notes, Carly, what kind of popped out to you? What's your initial takeaways in the game?
I thought it was really cool that it's 3 or 4 of our 5 sacks were on third down, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Got it.
I'm not sure if it was 4 or 3. I have to double check, but I took notes of when they were on third down, and I thought, and they were by different players too. And we had Preston, Kenny Clark, Preston again, Enigbare, and Gary. So 4 different people for 5 sacks. That's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah. I mean, the defense, to me, they showed up. Now, granted, Vegas, they're not a powerhouse, right? They're by no means. But if you had told me, and I was talking to Jacob about this offline, or maybe it was Tim, if you had told me before the game, hey, look, you're going to hold Devontae Adams to 4 catches for 45 yards, and you're going to hold Josh Jacobs to 69 yards rushing, only 3.5 yards a carry, I would probably say we're winning that ball game, right? I mean, you're talking about with a defense that's as banged up as they are, you're missing Devondre Campbell, right? And then all of a sudden you come out, you lose Quay Walker, you lose Darnell Savage, and you still hold their 2 sharpest weapons, right? The sharpest tools in their shed. You hold them to pretty much a minimum is what it came down to. And even Jacoby Myers, he had 7 catches for 75 yards. That was the guy they ended up going to. But if you had told me that stat line and said Vegas only scored 17 points, I like our chances of winning. What I didn't expect is this bad play calling. Did anything pop out to you while you were charting on the offensive side of the ball, Carly, as far as the offense? Did you find yourself getting frustrated with the offense? And if so, what specifically maybe jumped out to you?
I think, as others have said, with AJ Dillon getting him going, downhill or whatever, where when he hits the ball with speed, he does well. And they did a great job blocking for him, I felt like, in the beginning part of the first half. But in this end of the second half, it just totally fell off and they could not get anything going. And I honestly did not know why that was happening. It's like, why can't we? What changed? And I still feel confused about that.
You still feel confused about what? One more time. I'm so sorry.
How Yeah, how the blocking for AJ Dillon and just getting him to hit the ball with speed and actually moving, how
Mhm.
that just seemed to fall off. And I also thought that Love's play fakes were really, really bad when
Yeah.
he faked those handing off the ball. I was like, dude, you have to sell those.
Yeah. He definitely short arms the fake. And you could tell it's because quarterbacks are not comfortable. I'm telling you, especially quarterbacks today that come out of college. And I know he's been in the system for 3 years now, but when they come out of college, they're not comfortable going under center. You think about this. You come to the line of scrimmage, you go under center, right? You make your check, you set your protection. The defense looks one way, right? They're either showing middle field open or middle field closed. You snap the ball, you turn your back completely to the line of scrimmage, sell the play fake, right? And then you come back up and everything has changed. Everybody has moved, right? And it's a split-second decision. You're banking on the defense biting on the play fake, but by the end of the game, they were no longer biting on the play fake, you know. But yeah, that's it was tough. Now, like we had pointed out, when they were double teaming, like Emilio pointed out, when we're running between the tackles and just focus on straightforward blocking, a little duo action, and maximizing your inside zone with double teams. Oh my God, that's how you were averaging almost 4 yards a carry, right? With AJ Dillon, but you get away from that early on. They tried to run a little bit of counter and stuff, and it was just I was losing my mind in the first quarter. But you got to credit LaFleur for adjusting to that. But then you get away from the run on first down. I mean, that last drive, I mean, literally in my notes, I put, was it the last drive? It was the drive before the last drive. I literally put pass, penalty, pass, 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 play action, play action, play action. Like, he just got pulled into it, man. So what else you got, Carly, before we let you go?
Oh gosh, I gotta look at my notes here. Well, I don't want to beat the love thing to death, but we had talked about how he doesn't have to be the reason we win the game, but he can't be the reason we lose the game. And I feel like that is exactly what happened tonight.
Absolutely. That is the key to the game. That's the big takeaway. And some people don't want to accept it, and that's okay. People can fan how they want. But again, if you had told me that stat line on the defensive side of the ball, and then you hopped, I would have said, how'd Love do? And you just said 16 of 30 for 182, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, and a rating of 32.2. I would have said, oh Lord, we lost by 20. I really would have. So we appreciate you calling in, Carly.
Can I say one quick other thing that I noticed?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've been kind of focusing on fundamentals and just looking at how many times not having the fundamentals has failed us. But in our 5th possession of the second half, when Dobbs had that missed, he didn't catch the pass. I think what happened when I was looking at it is that he actually tried, it was 1st and 10, and it was the 6th play of that possession. He tried to turn upfield before he actually had full possession of that, and that's how it just got pushed out of his hands. And I thought that was man, we have to just get the fundamentals drilled into their heads. Do not do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about the out route. And in my notes, what I have is Love was late. And that does matter, especially on an out route when they're playing soft coverage. That's a timing route. It's 3-step drop, and you hit them before they come out of their break, right? Love was late on it. So what you essentially have is Dobbs has already turned. The defense is now breaking on him, and he's waiting for the ball, waiting for the ball, waiting for the ball. And your body is kind of contorted in a way that you kind of catch it in between, right? And baseball, you used to do it all the time. One of these like this, right? And that's when you get smacked in the mouth with the ball. But, yeah, so – it was tough. That's one thing. That's one of the big negatives I've got on Love this year is he's just late on his timing. He's so late getting the ball out. He's nothing is on time right now. But yeah, that's a very good observation there for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for what you're doing. I'm really enjoying it.
No, hey, we appreciate you and keep charting and keep bringing us that info. We appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
Have a good night. That was Carly Ray. All right, let's do this. So, Jacob, anything else you want to hit on real quick before we dive deep into the statistics? Anything that you were sitting there thinking, man, this is eating at me? I'm going to hit through the chat real quick, too. I'll start with Mike Hebring as you think about that. He said, I admit it. I jumped the gun on Love. He's not the guy after all. Still glad they moved on from 12, but Love ain't it. I love you got to throw it in. I'm still glad we moved on from Aaron, but Love ain't it. Cracks me up. But I feel you, Mike. I'm not off Love completely yet. But he's got a lot of stuff to to fix. There's no doubt about that. Number one Packer fan said, it's like they got one side working on offense and the other side fails. Today, the running game was working, but the pass game sucked. This team is bad, and that's not anger speaking. It's just bad. Yeah, I mean, inconsistent equals bad. They're very inconsistent. There's no doubt about that. I kind of felt like on that last drive they were gonna lead them down the field and take the lead. Which me and Tim talked about this offline. Tim, you seen the same thing I did. If Love throws that ball on time, he's hitting Christian Watson in stride for the go-ahead touchdown, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that ball was probably about a second late. I mean, if you saw Watson had his guy beat by probably 2 steps, maybe a step and a half, and he put that hand out. If Jay Love lets that ball go at that time, it's probably a touchdown. I mean, if you watch the DB who got the pick on that play, he actually caught that ball. It looked like on his way down from jumping up. He kind of caught it. He timed it great, but, the ball looked underthrown. It wasn't underthrown. It was just late.
All right.
So late, and Watson is fast. So, but he's already halfway into the end zone as this ball's coming down. So, yeah, it's a timing thing. Nothing looked in rhythm at all today on offense other than maybe the run game here and there. Looked like we had a little momentum, but yeah, man, and like we talked about before, Mike Hebring's comments. I mean, he's right. We're not playing great football. I mean, this team has not played a complete games at all this year other than week one. Other than week one, really. I mean, I guess the Bears, we kind of took care of the Bears game, but since then we haven't. It's always been the tale of two halves, it seems like, with us being a second half team.
Third quarter, man.
Yeah, and we were never out of this game at all today. It's another reason this loss is kind of difficult because we were always in it. Thanks in part to our defense there, especially in the first half and at times in the third quarter, just keeping us around despite being banged up. But poor execution on offense. No timing, no rhythm. And it seemed like Jordan had some time today. I mean, he didn't have perfectly clean pockets all day, but
he had time though. Yeah,
he had time. Yep,
no doubt. Jacob, how would you say the name right here in this chat?
Right.
On screen.
On Le Quebec.
Said Goody said Jordan needs to play to keep growing. Issue is he feels stagnant, and LaFleur still stops running the ball. Sigh. This just feels like we are stuck. Nothing is improving. I wouldn't say that nothing is improving, but I definitely think stuck is a good word to use. Wouldn't you agree, Jacob?
Yeah, it seems like that same old cop-out excuse, but I do think there is something to the fact that this team has not been healthy and practiced together and played together for more than, a few games here. Even like that first game with Chicago, we're missing a couple key components, and then Bach goes down, and then Jones goes down, and then Watson's down, and then when they get back, Jair's down, and then it's like, you guys just – I'm starting to think about who was our training person, you know what I mean? What can I play?
My mouth, dude. Like sooner or later, somebody's got to be like, dang, I mean, although I will say this, the one thing that they are doing well is they're teaching offensive linemen how to levitate, as you can see right here. This is the flop that Tom took, man. Tell me that is not brilliant.
That's perfect. Love it. That's perfect. Belly flop.
You know what, though? We talked about that prior to the game about Crosby being that player that will always look for the extra, and he's not – he pushes the boundary. He's not a dirty player. He just plays really hard and aggressive. And it's like scouting reports in because that's why Tom flopped. He knew – he's getting that extra shove towards the end of the play, and he just sold it.
He was looking at the corner of his eye, wasn't he? He was like, wait, as soon as he touches me, boy, I'll take it.
Yeah. And then Crosby's face afterwards is like, oh, man. Like, yep. Yeah,
I love it, dude. Immediately made me think of Ric Flair. Ric Flair used to do that stumble and fall.
That meme you said was perfect at that. Real quick, though, in addition to the defense only allowing that 17 points, we left up another interception. If you guys remember, Savage misjudged a ball where I don't know what he was doing, man. He took a
it's like
angle, and he ended up getting hurt on that play as well for a few snaps. But it just, and then we ended up having the Carlson field goal that was blocked by Yash. So That was huge. Massive.
Yasha's pinky. Yasha's,
Pinky.
it looked like
all
it
it
hurt,
took.
didn't it?
Sounds dirty, but he pinkied it.
Yeah. Hey, back to the training staff though. Seriously, like I think if I'm Mark Murphy, I'm having a talk with those cats. Like I'm sitting down with somebody like, hey, look, what can we do different? Like,
yeah,
how I know injuries happen all across the league, and it's our favorite team, the one we watch the closest, so they're going to pop more than any. But how in the world is it every single week? It's something else. Like, and we're on grass tonight, right? So I don't know what happened to Quay's knee. We can't blame the turf tonight, right? But just what is it? As far as that Savage, I felt like his angle was okay. It's like he breaks to the ball and he doesn't see the ball, though. Like once he gets there, it's like he loses complete sight of it's like he's playing out of control.
He's going to where he thinks it is or something.
Yeah.
He's like over anticipating and just selling out to that spot. He had one early in the game where he would have blew up a run inside and he just whiffed. And it was 8 yards or 7 yards.
Jair whiffed on another tackle that turned into a 24-yard run around the right side.
That was bad technique because he was there to make a play. He got his hips turned. Yep.
Yeah. We got Paul Robertson in the chat said C.J. Stroud, Young, and Richardson all look better than Love, who has had 3 years in the league. ... I can't argue with that point. I can't. Stroud, when a listener asked me in the offseason to break down the quarterback play, like the top quarterbacks coming out, and I told him I don't like to do this because I'm not a scout, but there's 4 aspects to a quarterback that I think are most important: pre-snap read, post-snap read, accuracy, and quick release. Those are the 4 things that I think are most important. When you look at the great quarterbacks in the history of the game, Tom Brady had all of those, right? Aaron Rodgers had all of those. And when I broke it down, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young were my top 2. It was Bryce Young and then C.J. Stroud a close second. And you guys know C.J. Stroud started to drop down draft boards there because of the SI test or whatever it's called. And then Richardson was my lowest graded. However, he was still a first-round talent, right? But that right there is a great example of, that's the decision we've got to make this year, guys. Is Love the guy? That's the number one goal this season as an organization. If we were on the staff, that's the number one goal. By the end of this year, we have got to know 100% is Love the guy or not. And if we're going, he might be, then he's not the guy. It's that important, right? Because you've got him on a 2-year deal. Then you continue to look for the guy and you bring him back on that, somewhat cheap contract for a starting quarterback. And you do exactly what the 49ers did. The 49ers thought that they were absolutely crazy that they drafted Trey Lance. They traded up and took Trey Lance, right? Because they had Jimmy G that they traded a second-round pick for, right? You had Jimmy G that you traded a second-round pick for. Then you traded a ton of draft, capital to get up there and take Trey Lance. And then you still took Brock Purdy with the last pick in the draft. And, oh, by the way, Brock Purdy is your starting quarterback and a top 5 QB in the league right now. Right? You never know where it's going to come from. And I'm going to tell you something. Somebody said something here in the chat. And I don't know if I can get to it or not. I can't remember where it was at. If we cross it here in a minute, I'll give credit for whoever it was. But somebody said they wanted to see our boy Sean Clifford. If we get to the point where we feel confident that Love isn't the guy, I want to see Clifford too. That's me personally.
You have to immediately.
Yeah.
If you really feel that way. But to your point, Clayton, what you just said, the goal this year, we need to know by the end of this year is Jay Love the guy. Okay, we're 5 games in. So I understand where everybody's head's at right now with what we've seen, and I'm not disputing that. I am saying it's a little early to kick him off the bus after what we have invested in him. Because you bring up a good point. If we got to make that move, we got to start over. We got to start over, and we don't want to do that Chicago Bear quarterback merry-go-round game.
You can't go back to him. You can't go back to him.
You
make that decision, you can't go back to him.
Right. So we got to give him more than these first 5 games here. But I'm with you guys. It's not looking great right now. It really isn't. But it's a lot of football left. I'll say that.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jacob.
I mean, you just I know you could always play this game, but if you tweak like 2 or 3 different plays, we could easily be 4-1 right now.
Mhm.
So, and everybody would be singing a kind of a different tune, even if he does have, because we expected what? We expected drop issues, we expected miscommunications, we expected pre-snap and penalties, and we expected post-snap confusion, expected raw stuff from our number one youngest team in the NFL, and now we're starting, I think, feel it a little more because at this point, and I think what's going to separate us is as teams are into week 4 and 5, the veterans and stuff, they're kind of just shaking off the dust and going right into that pro form. Whereas we are so young that we still are like, we're young bucks, man. We don't even know what it's like to kind of get into pro ready form and keep that form day in, day out, week in and week out. So I'm just thinking that this is part of that growing pain, part of the, I don't think it's a rebuild. It's one of those competitive rebuilds. And yeah, I guess I'm way far away from throwing in the towel on Love. I'll tell you that much. I'd have to see another solid, I think, 5 games, and he'd have to be really crappy over those 5 games before I'd start to. But I would eventually, if he starts like, you know what, in the bed the next 5 games or so ish. At that point, I'd start saying, I want to see what Clifford can do. Just
What's crazy is what I'm about to say is exactly what Mark Murphy said. Mark Murphy said, they said, how long would you how long would you give him? How long will you know? And I think he said, was he said half a season? Is that what he said? You got to give him half the year. And I was just about to say, I'm like, damn, that's what Mark Murphy said too. And everybody made fun of him for it. But you got to give him, like I said, once you make the move, you can't go back. Name somebody that they went back to and it worked, right?
No,
Like,
never.
Yeah. You never hear about a team doing that.
And then most former starters end up journeymen too. Then
absolutely
in that situation. But you know what doesn't help being a young team is having veteran leaders on both sides of the ball not on the field due to injury. That really does not help our cause at all. No Bach, no Aaron Jones, offensively certainly has an effect. And then you see, no Campbell in the middle. We got guys banged up on defense. Then we lose Quay today. That was a noticeable drop off in the defense's execution. So,
yeah,
definitely. I don't know, guys.
I like this one right here. Paul Robertson said, in the words of Mike McCarthy, let's be positive. Perfectly said. Perfect. Yeah, Mandy's texting me from Chat Town. She's down in Chattanooga and she's watching live and she's sending me stats and it is hilarious, bro. She said she's showing screenshots of Jimmy Garoppolo's stats and everything. But she said 5 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Mandy, bad language. She said the frig. How do we lose this? How do we not get a touchdown that one series after Watson's 70-yard reception?
Yes.
That's a great point. And she said, she pointed out Jimmy G's stats and everything. A 32.2 rating is what she said right there with a question mark. Yeah, that was Love's rating tonight, babe. Sorry about it, but you got to calm down, girl. Hey, I'm only one supposed to be screaming at the TV in this house when we're watching football. My God. Or as Paul Robertson said, in the words of Mike McCarthy, let's be positive. All right. Let's see here. Eric Sutherland said Nixon is a horrible defender. I tell you, in coverage, he plays the run fairly well. Sometimes he shoots the gap, and I'm like, man, he's physical. But you're right, dude. When he should have jumped that slant, it was like, what in the world? What in the world? Goose in the chat said, Matt, you got away from the run. What do you think you could do about that, Matt? Yep, we got to look at sticking to the run. We got away from it. We got to look at focusing on the run.
Dude. I swear.
What do you think about that, Jacob?
I'm not even gonna. I'm trying so hard to not say stupid stuff. I'm frustrated this game, but I'm trying to hone it in. To me, I don't get how Matt LaFleur doesn't have this team. Absolutely. Another thing that I'll look at is we basically just came off of a mini bye, and I think Ryan or somebody showed that Matt LaFleur coming out of any sort of like bye or mini bye situation, we're like 1-4 now. So that's an issue. Anytime again we're going to the West Coast, we're like 1-7 or something. That's an issue.
We are terrible in primetime games.
Primetime games, that's an issue. It's like every time, and I feel like a lot of this is that it's on something we're doing in the process. If it's not the coach, it's something in the process. The way we perform, the way we get, I don't know, the way we travel, the way we're booking into the hotels. I don't know, dude. just seems like we never are ready to play when we are supposed to be all hyped.
Yeah.
And it's starting. We just seem lame. We always just seem lame. Nothing cool. We're like the nerdy, weird, buckled up.
And they try to get cute, right? And
And
they
then
look cool when they drop their books in the hallway and trip, and it's so tough. Goose said, nope, this game isn't on Barry's. It's solidly on Matt. I've seen a lot of people kind of going at Coach LaFleur. I don't think he's on the hot seat by no means, but I do feel bad for the guy. I'm going to be honest, man. He was one you could tell he wanted Rodgers back, right? It's like he could see the issues this team had that Aaron was covering up a little bit. And I'm not suggesting Aaron was never at fault, but it's like what Paul Robertson said right here. The rumblings from Aaron Rodgers the last few years now make all the sense in the world. He saw the team and its severe flaws. Mike Wall agreed with that. Mike Wall said that he was covering things up, especially in the run game, getting you out of bad looks and into good looks and all that. It's
that happened. That was evident tonight too. We saw a couple more cans to runs that shouldn't have happened, and vice versa. We saw checks out of runs as well that turned out to be dumpster fire throws. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. You cannot make up instantly in 1 year for the way Aaron Rodgers reads the defense pre-snap. It's just not going to be that quick of a change,
That's why my stance was the way it was last year when so many people were saying Jordan Love can do this. Aaron Rodgers is screwing this up, and Aaron Rodgers is the reason they're losing and this and that. And I'm going, before he broke his thumb, his accuracy was better than it had ever been. And then 1 week someone was telling me all he does is check it down. And then the next week people were telling me all he does is play hero ball. And I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Like, he's taking what the defense is giving him. You led the league in drops. The receivers led the league in drops last year. And this is why I was so frustrated last year. People pointing out, look at this receiver running open right here. Where are the open receivers now? Somebody explain it to me. Right? But all of a sudden they've disappeared, haven't they? Or maybe they were never there. Maybe that was the proper thing to do, to take the check down in that moment. That's the stuff that, like, it was tough, man. It was tough sitting through last year. And I don't it's the goal isn't to say I told you so, right? That's not it's the last thing that I want to say. But if you see it, you got to say it. It was all over the tape last year, man. This stuff is a jumbled up freaking mess. And when I watch the tape, I'm going, man, we need to simplify things. Aaron Rodgers comes out and says, we need to simplify things. And fans were like, Aaron needs to shut up and run the offense. He's refusing to run Matt's offense. We're all in agreement now. This is Matt's offense, right? So we're in this together. We're stuck in this rut now, right? Now
it's his offense, and he's the play caller.
Exactly. I mean, he's got full say, yep. And he's given Jordan the opportunity to can in and out of plays, and rightfully so. Every quarterback should have that option, but it's becoming more and more evident. Like Mike Wall said the other day, it's like, there's a lot of things that he was covering up for that you're starting to see now. But Andrew in the chat said Barry wasn't bad, held under 20, should get it done. I completely agree with that. Let's see here. This was kind of interesting. The lack of Dobbs and Reed targets were pretty upsetting. When you run a blind play action and you try to hammer a dig on that blind play action and you're thrown into triple coverage, somebody's singled up somewhere, right? I'm sorry. I'm not good at math, but numbers are numbers, right? Like, somebody's singled up. And then you've seen it later in the game, late going to Watson in the end zone, right? That was a one-on-one matchup. I guarantee you that was there most of the game, or at least there was one-on-ones with Dobbs. Now, going into this game, we said we wanted Jordan to take the check downs, right? Well, it just so happens that we come out and we start running the ball, and we're moving the chains. And then you just get away from it, and you start getting cute. You try to run the play action throwback screen. I don't know if you guys seen that play where Love dirted it, right? It's just, why get cute? You have the better team, in my opinion. The Packers roster is better than the Raiders. Play straightforward,
straight up. Yep.
Yes, and let's just.
And every time we did, it worked. It was working today when we played them straight up.
Yep, absolutely, completely agree.
I think about that first pick, man. I maybe you can do a chalk talk, or we'll get some film here next couple of days. But that that first throw on the play action that he threw, that I got it in my notes as dumb expletive interception.
And that wasn't even that one wasn't even blind play action. It was a ride.
It wasn't.
He was
it
riding
wasn't, but
across and reading it.
But he threw the over. He missed Taylor on the shorter throw. He could have hit Taylor on a dart on that one, and instead he tried to go to I forgot who that was. I think it might have been Dobbs or Scoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So it's decision making. You know, split second, it's pre-snap analysis and it's post-snap adjustment. And it's not that it's not happening, it's just happening late or it's happening incorrectly.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Guys, once again, I'm getting tired here, but did you see I never thought again that I'd say that I'd missing or did miss Tyler Davis. But Tucker Kraft, I saw him whiff so bad on like a seal block. And then did you see him tackle
the guy? Yeah,
he tackled the guy, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, he tackled him."
But Jacob, listen to me, man. That RAS though, bro. That RAS.
Tucker Kraft is maybe one of those guys I've actually thrown in the towel. But like, this dude's not good at football.
He's a project. You know, he's a raw project. It's gonna take 2 or 3 years. There's no doubt about it.
Sims looked okay.
What about that, man?
Yeah,
I immediately thought of Jacob because I know Jacob got really excited when we signed Sims.
Damn.
And,
Carl Brooks played pretty good today too, Jacob. He had a couple of plays.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to jump off the stat sheet, but
he had a good penalty though.
Yeah.
2-0 for this in the chat says we have been ruined by injuries, losing both starting linebackers and a starting safety. Sheesh. It's tough, especially on the fly like that. I thought the linebackers stepped in and played okay though, McDuffie and Wilson. All things considered, you know. What's that, Jake?
I said I thought they both did pretty well, all things considered. I've always liked McDuffie, and I think Wilson's he's shown to be a decent backup and a really good special teamer, right? Isn't that his kind of thing?
Yeah. United Bates in the chat said Jair looks silly trying to make open field tackles. He doesn't have the same aggressiveness as Douglas Nixon, etc. He really doesn't. We pointed it out on Chalk Talk last week.
Well, John's a coverage corner, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. That's not his forte, and that's why I have an issue with him being the highest paid corner. Though it's like you're gonna tie up that much cap. It better be somebody who's willing to go in there and do the dirty work too. You know, when you think of great corners like that, you think of Stephon Gilmore when he won Defensive Player of the Year. You know, he didn't win that just because of coverage. You know, he was good against the run. He was aggressive off the edge.
And a great open field tackler, too.
Yes, absolutely. So it's tough, man. I try not to judge too much, but, you know, like I said, if we see it, we got to say it. No doubt about that. Jake in the chat, let's see. He said, obviously got to fire Joe Barry when you score 13 points on offense. Jake, I cannot tell you how much it means to me that you exist, my friend, because it was tough out there in them Twitter streets today, my man. It was tough. I literally – it's rare that stuff bothers me to the point that I just got to cut it off. But I'm just like – and you see where it comes from. Like I said, I'm not going to name names, but you can see where it comes from. The people that started, who have this huge following in the Packers community, and everybody just said, oh, yeah, that's what it is. That's why we lost. Preston Smith was covering Devontae Adams. One freaking play that wasn't even an explosive play. If they caught us in a bad look, fire Joe Barry. Jordan Love, those 3 interceptions, crickets, absolute crickets. and Matt LaFleur running play action on first down over and over and over to incomplete passes and putting yourself in the hole.
Crickets. You can run play action on first down after your running back, you know, rushes for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns. And, you know, you're rolling in the game. You could probably pull that out, but I agree, Clayton. I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah, it's just, hey, once a narrative is built, man, it's gonna run, dude. That's just the way it is. That is 2023 in a nutshell. If you say it enough, it becomes the truth. That's just it. Let's see here. What else we got in the chat? I want to try to hit on all of them, guys, but it was just been lit up here. Let's shift the focus a little bit. All right. Right here, Mike Hebring, 2-15 might get us Caleb Williams. I don't think we're going 2-15. I put us in that 6 to 7 range right now, unless things change dramatically, right? Paul Robertson said, "Don't worry about Broncos locking that up, but they getting Caleb." Let's see here. We got Adam Block in the chat said, "I don't want Caleb. I want a running game and a run defense." All right. Let's see. Jake Shavink says Drake May is quite good. This is a heavy quarterback class. That's what I'm saying with Love, man. Like, he's got to perform, or else if we do win somewhere, 5, 6, 7 games, and we've got that extra pick there from the Jets, you could bet your sweet rear end that if they've got one of those 7.0 higher grades on any of these quarterbacks, they're going to be aggressive in trading up and trying to lock down a franchise quarterback. And that may not necessarily be a bad thing. I want Jordan Love to work so bad, man. I love his demeanor. I love everything about him. Like, he seems like the type of guy that I want leading a franchise. You know what I mean? Like, he's even keel. You could tell he was raised right. He comes from kind of a humble upbringing. The guys absolutely love him. They believe in him. But when you talk about those 4 things that are important, pre-snap read, I mean, I can't grade him anything higher than a C, probably a D range. Post-snap read, it's definitely a D minus, right? Accuracy, a D minus. And then quick release, I'd probably give a B plus. He's got a pretty quick release. So he's got one of the 4 things you need. Now, you'd say, okay, with time, he'll develop the pre and post snap read. This is year 4, man, and I know he hasn't got a whole lot of real playing time, but at the same time, man, you can't be that late in your timing to Watson on that deep pass. Remember this, Jacob, early in the year? I can't remember which game it was, where we come out in the 4th quarter and he cans to a pass play, a double crosser, and has Dobbs wide open, and he throws to the guy who's covered, right? Like, that's 2 times that he could have won the game on throws that were there. And LaFleur has done a good job of scheming up the passing game open, but it's just bad decisions and inaccuracy. But
you remember, though, to just fight a little bit for him, back-to-back plays, he had an easy first down that Dobbs juggled and incomplete. And I think it was the very next play would have been a first down on a tight end. I believe it was Musgrave.
With Musgrave, yeah.
Dropped it for the first down. And they were
here's the thing, though, man. Like, and on both notes, I put they were drops, but also on the note,
balls are misthrown.
The throw to Dobbs, late. The throw to Musgrave, behind
him. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, like you said, though, it hits him in the hands. You need to catch the ball, So we find ourselves every week going, it's everybody's fault. I'm tired of saying that.
I find myself now guilty of making excuses. I still am like, if you had Jones and Bakhtiari, it's a different game.
I love that voice. Love it.
What the hell's going on out here?
Let's do this, man. Y'all want to give away a jersey?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let me share the screen here. Let me see if I can get this thing pulled up. We're going to spin the wheel, and we're going to give away a jersey. This is an autographed John Kuhn jersey. So we have 125 participants here. All right, so we're going to spin the wheel. Here's the deal. We're going to spin it 3 times, okay? The first one obviously would be first dibs. If that person doesn't claim the prize, then we'll move on to number 2. Then we'll move on to number 3. So if you're in the chat tonight, right now, speak up, okay? And we can obviously tell if it's you or not, all right? So let's spin the wheel. You ready, Jacob?
Big money, big money, big money.
Here we go. Drum roll, Tim.
I tried to do it on the desk.
Oh, look at this. Oh,
Cheesehead Murph.
Oh, I'm Cheesehead Murph's biggest fan, dude. I ain't gonna lie, man. I don't know if Murph's in the house tonight or not. Let me write this down though real quick. We got Cheesehead Murph.
We know he's gonna claim his prize.
Oh yeah, dude. He's in here all the time.
We don't even need to spin it, to be honest.
I'm gonna spin it again, man, because you never know, right? I'm just gonna do this. Just get it out of the way here. All right. Spin it again. Big money, big money. It is Colin Scott. All right. So if for some reason Cheesehead left the country for warrants then Colin Scott would get the jersey. All right, and we'll do it one more time just in case here.
That's not a relation to Michael Scott, is it?
Hey, could be. It could be. You never know. And the other is Patricia P. All right, so the way that's going to work, gang, like I said, Cheesehead Murphy is the winner. We're going to give him plenty of time to claim that, just like we did before with the other winners. Like Jacob said, he's going to claim it. He's in here all the time. Like I said, he's one of the what I consider one of the co-founders of the PTA posse, him and Eric Sutherland in the house. So, all right, let's get ready to wrap this thing up, guys. Jacob, parting thoughts, bro. Anything else you want to hit on? We don't have to ease out of here right now, but I'm ready to wrap it up if you guys are. But if not, what are your parting thoughts? I'm tired, he said.
I've been trying to put on a happy face, but it's been rough. It's just lack of consistency. We knew it was an issue going into the beginning of the year. We got all excited when we beat the Bears, and we should have known that beating the Bears is it's nothing to really be excited about going forward. That's a joke of an organization. Week 2, we got a little taste of what it's like to actually play against decent teams, and ever since then, I think that we've just been taking one step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. So going into this bye, I really hope Matt LaFleur does completely the opposite of what he usually does, because these bye weeks have not been beneficial to us in any way the last basically over his tenure. So I think we need to practice harder maybe, and maybe get a little more physical so that these guys aren't made of glass come game days. But I don't know. I'm not an expert. So, and then I want to shore up these mistakes, the pre-snap mistakes. And after that, I look at a stretch that we could, if we go, I want to go another stretch where we're 3-1 or 2-2 even. I guess I'd settle for, because I feel like we're playing sloppy ball. I want to fix that, because we still have a chance to make the playoffs, but I don't know what to do now. I'm starting to lose hope in certain aspects that I'm really excited about the first couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Larry in the chat, always bringing us back to center, right? Said, settle down, everyone. Wasn't this supposed to be a developmental year? Receivers weren't given Love the help when it mattered. They'll gel as the season progresses. We knew Love was a gunslinger. I love Larry, dude. Larry always come here and just
thank you, Larry.
Smacks me, cuffs me in the back of the head when I need it, like, hey, chill out, which is basically exactly what Tim said a few minutes ago. But Tim, what do you got parting thoughts wise, man?
I'm with Jacob on this bye week, man. I'm not talking about guys that are hurt and need rehab and all this stuff. I'm talking about guys that are healthy. Like, nobody on this team needs days off right now. Like, I'm sorry. You get your butt in the film room, whatever, weight room, strength and conditioning, whatever. We're banged up. The bye is going to help to an extent, but I almost wonder with this much time, gosh, I hope they look solid coming out of this bye week. Right. And they do not drop a game to Denver. I will puke.
Oh,
Drop this game to Denver. And you're right, Jacob. They got to go on a run. We got to go 3-1 on these next few, or at least 2-2, to kind of keep some kind of a semblance of a season alive before we get to where Clayton's right and they only win, 6 games or something. I had them at 10 this year, and it's still possible. Doesn't look great after today, but I guess final thoughts will be, they'll be pending. We got to do some film study, and hopefully Clayton will give us a chalk talk here next week or in the next few days. We'll certainly have plenty of time to dive into the game, right?
Yeah. And I think what we need to do this bye week too is a watch party and do a past game, like a Packers game from the past. So we need to put that together. We need to make that happen. We need a break from the current Green Bay Packers, right? Dip into the vault and watch some old school Packer football. Mandy messaged me here and said United Bates gave 10 subscriptions. Are you guys seeing that anywhere?
Wow.
Yeah.
Again.
I don't know if the chat locked up at a certain point. She also said he had a super chat, but I'm not seeing it. Of course, Mandy might be in the What's that?
I said my chat locked up on the screen here, so I've been reading them on YouTube, trying to stay current. But
gotcha. Cool. Well, if you did, United Bates, thank you so much, man. You're always just an absolute blessing to everybody, and we'll make sure that those names that you did add gets added into the next giveaway. We've already got stuff queued up for another giveaway here in a couple of weeks for sure. And we appreciate the super chat. Like I said, I'm not seeing it on my side. I apologize. I'd love to read it because we always love when you post in the chat. Do want to give a shout out here to Carly Ray. Just got this notification. It's kind of cool. She's been a member for 1 month, and she says, "Tim, is that signed helmet from the first Super Bowl? Tell them about that helmet back there, Tim."
I'll tell you, I wish it was signed. It's not signed. And B, I wish it was from the first Super Bowl. It is not from the first Super Bowl. That is actually something I found in storage, or my mom found in storage actually, and brought down to me. That is one of my first helmets from childhood. I used to bang heads in the neighborhood with the kids playing football with that back in the day when you used to get like a real padded helmet. So no, that's just circa 1980s Rawlings Packer helmet there. So looks pretty good on the wall though, right? Clayton got me hooked up, told me to put it on the wall.
Oh, dude, it looks good.
Like it.
Man.
Yeah, that's not a signature. It just says Rawlings, so it's not.
Yeah, man, you got to stop letting the truth get in the way of a good story.
I know. Hey, maybe we'll get a signed one. You never know.
I haven't signed one.
See, Jacob's got one.
Bob talking though, so it's not very cool.
Oh my God! Let's see here. Tony keeping it positive in the chat says Packers played better than the Cowboys. Sure.
Hey, that's my boy right there.
Yeah,
my brother from another mother.
Casey Odom in the chat says spin the wheel for Tim's helmet. I love it, man.
Oh man,
give me that jacket too, Tim. Spin the wheel.
Wait a minute. That's Paul Horning's signature on there. That's what that. No, it's not. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, let's see here. Marcus in the chat says should have gave Rodgers a little more respect. Now you see the offense is incompetent. If you're telling me I should have given Rodgers more respect, then you don't know who you're talking to. Jacob will tell you he got tired of hearing me talk about him last year. But it is what it is, dude. Sooner or later you got to move on, right? And they wanted to see what they have in Love. And again, like we're saying, like Larry was saying, everybody chill, simmer down now. All right, it's early. We'll see what happens the rest of this season, and then, like I said, it's going to be a heavy quarterback class. So, even if I said it before, if Love comes out and has a top 10 year, it still doesn't mean they wouldn't draft a quarterback. That's what's going on in the league right now. You're always looking to upgrade that most important position. So, all right, man. Emilio, I like it too, man. He says, "See how we end on smiles always, dude." Listen, if you're coming in here to watch this show or listen to this podcast to get doom and gloom and hot takes and fire this person, fire that person, you might as well keep it moving. Because like Emilio said, like we're here to have a good time and talk about the Packers and actually break down what happened on the field. And you can tell none of us are like, oh my God, we're so surprised at this result. It's any given Sunday in the NFL, dude. And with this team as young as it is, like Larry was saying, there's going to be growing pains. Tonight was one of those nights, right? And let's see how Love responds, right? I said it earlier in the chat, Jacob, Tim. I said, hey, now we get to see what Love's made of, man. Fourth quarter, let's see what you got, big dog. Here's another test. Here's another note to write down going into the offseason. Is Love the guy or not, right? And now we get to going on a bye week, come out the other side. How are you going to respond coming off? I think we would all agree his worst game yet, right? Let's see how he responds. That's what's going to tell you a lot about the guy for sure. So, all right, let's see. Casey Odom said, you pronounce it right, Clay. That's a rarity. You must be a true bumpkin. Yeah, it's very rare that I pronounce anything right. I'll just tell you that right now. Man, I speak English on a third grade level. I promise you that. Let's see here. All right, I think we're good. Let's wrap this thing up. Jacob, thank you for hopping on here, dude. You've looked depressed the whole time. I know the Packer loss always hurts. It hurts me too, but we get through it together, right? And Tim, thank you for your time, buddy. I definitely appreciate it, man. It's you guys make this go a lot easier after a loss. But we're going to get back to the film. Let's see. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I would say by Wednesday or Thursday, I should have us a chalk talk put together, and we'll try to hit on the most important plays. What I'd like for you two to do, if you don't care, text me specific plays like you had mentioned a couple, both I think y'all had, that you definitely want to see in chalk talk, and I'll make sure I fit those in. Obviously, we'll hit on the turnovers. We'll hit on the key plays. We'll hit on a little bit of that play calling too. I want to point out how we just went pass, and kind of took us out of our rhythm there. So yeah, all right. And again, let's put together a watch party this coming weekend. All right, since the Packers aren't going to be playing, we get this long bye. Let's go back and watch an old Packers game. We could go all the way back to the Ice Bowl. We could do.
Let's go back to '96.
Yeah,
see some run defense.
Seriously,
yeah.
we could go '96. That would be cool too, right? We could go in the early '90s when Brett first took over. We could go to 2008, 2009 when Aaron took over. Just think about it. Everybody, hit me up on Twitter at Packers_access. Let me know what game you'd like to see. I think we'll be able to broadcast it live on here, watch it together, and just kind of hang out. You know what I mean? Chat. The chat will be lit up. It'll be a good time. So, yeah. Carly Ray says, basically do the whole game, Clayton. We want to learn. I tell you what, man, when I had food poisoning that day and it was setting in and I did that hour and 40-minute one, dude, it felt like I aged 10 years doing that chalk talk. I didn't know way I could do a whole game. There's no way. So appreciate everybody. Thank y'all so much for your time. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. Hope y'all have an awesome Tuesday. Keep it positive, right? It's a young team. We're growing, and we'll all grow together. So appreciate y'all. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Double tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Fullback, you tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one goes. Go right by this and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.